Hello, everyone. I had a really full week behind me, and I am having another full week ahead of me. Plus, I'm teaching over the weekend. So this is going to be a video that is kind of different from the usual ones. First of all, because I have not created the charts for London. I'm using the Budapest chart. Sometimes I do that. It's not really relevant because we're not going to look at the angles really. So, and of course, it is about the Mars Pluto quincunx and the Mars Pallas Athena conjunction on Regulus. The former is on the 9th, the latter is on the 10th, but of course the placements are there already. So if you look around in the world, this is what you exactly see. You see blood and violence and fire everywhere. Interestingly, Paris was under siege for a week, and it was a copy-paste revolution, a created revolution, of course, just like Black Lives Matter. And my heart goes out for the Parisians, really, but hopefully they now are kind of realizing that they need to fight back because the police is not going to do anything, because they are scared to death, of course, because they need to be politically correct. But let's look behind the scenes before we look at the chart, what's actually happening. If you look at the recent history of the United States, you will see that unfortunately countless people are killed by police fire, and also by other people's fire, of course, because that's what they do. They try to resolve their problems with weapons. And have you heard of Black Lives Matter lately? Are they up in arms against any of these occurrences? Not really. So there's no true momentum of the whole thing. Why did it happen when it happened? Because it was the election. It was election year, and they wanted to create chaos. Why is it happening now in Paris? Very simple. Macron, who I don't really think of very highly, although I'm slightly changing my opinion, but when he first came in, of course, he was a Rothschild banker catapulted into the seat of the French premier. He's not premier, he's a president. Sorry, I'm sometimes mixing up certain titles. And of course, he was this nice looking, young, agile, smart businessman. Very woke, very liberal, very mainstream, with a perfect pedigree, perfect global pedigree. And all of a sudden, after a couple of years, of course, this is his final term because he can't go for 3 times. Finally, he started to talk out of the liberal canon, so to speak. And what did he say a couple of days or weeks ago? That Europe should have its own foreign policy, that we should not burn all avenues back to Russia. We should really look at the whole of Europe. We should cater for the needs of those who have a different opinion. Of course, he was immediately pushed into this almost civil war revolution. And I'm always very sad if anyone dies. But if you have a 17-year-old boy, he's a grown-up, who stole a car, who was being chased by the police, who didn't stop when the police told him to stop, and the chase goes on for an hour, please, okay? If you stop, you won't be killed. All right, the recipe is very simple. So let's take a look at the chart. And as I said to you, this unfortunately is not going to be the London chart. Social, oh, okay, what did I do? Hold on, this is not it. Sorry about that. I'm really tired, and I'm really, hold on, where is it? I think hopefully this is it. Yeah, because the first one was the Hungarian version, and although I did not change the drawings, I did change the words, of course. So here's it, and on July the 9th, you will have an exact anaretic, and of course, in the last degree is anaretic, Mars Pluto quincunx. Mars Pluto is always about violence. It's always about the two power planets. Pluto is the power behind, so it's the true power, the true mechanism behind any facade that looks like a power. And Mars is the executive, the soldier. Okay, Mars is responsible for wars and all kinds of stuff. It is at the very end of Leo, almost on Regulus, actually within 1 degree of Regulus. We will see it, but we will look at a different chart then. So the exact Mars Pluto quincunx is at 1454 Budapest, 1354 London, so you can calculate your own place of residence when it is going to be exact. And there are a number of midpoint structures, which I love, because midpoint structures explain why two seemingly non-related planets or celestial objects do work together. What happens is there's one planet in between, and then two other planets that are forming the midpoint itself, and the three are linked together and work together, just like a complex planetary picture. One of the midpoint structures is Mars Pallas Athena, which is they are exactly conjunct on the Venus trans-Pluto midpoint. So they are defined by trans-Pluto, dimension jump, and Venus harmony, which is very interesting, because Mars Pallas Athena are fighters. Mars is war, full-blown, bloody, aggressive war, and Pallas Athena is defense. Of course, yes, she's also the protector of Athens, and also the goddess of wisdom. But she is linked to not offense but defense. The other midpoint structure is on Venus, because Venus is defined by Mars Pallas Athena on the one hand, and Black Moon Lilith on the other. Black Moon Lilith denotes stamina, determinedness, accepting a task, doing it, going back, doing what's necessary, being there, and being responsible, but also is linked to clairvoyance, because Lilith needs to be a clairvoyant, able to see what is happening in the Garden of Eden when she already left. So there are actually 3 feminine figures in this midpoint structure, just to remind you. And then Astrea is on the midpoint of Vesta Sedna. Throughout the year until November, Vesta and Astrea are kind of conjunct, always within 4-5 degrees. And this means, and I do have a couple of videos out there about this, that in this year you need to focus, Vesta, on how you can come out of old and debilitating karmic issues, how you can change your destiny. Astrea is a karma breaker and destiny changer in karmic astrology. Focus on karma breaking. That's what Vesta Astrea says. But now Astrea is on the Sedna Vesta midpoint, and Sedna means creation through dissection. It simply means that we need to look at our lives and see the non-working segments or the non-working portions of it, throw them out, and don't try to mend them, because usually they are not mendable. But concentrate on the remaining pieces and try to create something that is workable, a new structure that is workable. And so you can break old embedded karma, Astrea, by focusing, Vesta, on what to redo, Sedna, how to restructure your life. And believe me, you definitely need this. Or you will need this in the upcoming years, and the preparation time is now. While the nodal axis is in Scorpio and Taurus. With Taurus, our task should be to create harmony, well-being, security, stable lifestyles. And with the South Node in Scorpio, we need to tap into the ancient resources of esoteric knowledge. This is how to do it. And the last midpoint structure is Aries, which is on the midpoint of Chiron and North Node. And Chiron is karmic wounds, and North Node is, of course, our task for this particular time in space. And Aries is drastically altered outward circumstances. So that is so the war and this whole upheaval and this civil war situation reminds us that we need to create harmony and stability, North Node in Taurus, by understanding and kind of redoing our karmic wounds. And I did reflect on Chiron lately a couple of times. And I think you need to understand that wounds are always remaining wounds. You can heal them in a way, but the scar tissue is always going to be there. So you need to acknowledge these wounds, and in order to overcome them, you need to understand them, and you need to learn from them. You need to learn to turn the bad experience into resources. That's how to do it. You can't really get rid of the whole. There is a complex anaretic, and of course this associate planetary picture at the very beginning and very end of the signs. So this is what you have. And I did put down the placements. The Mars, Pluto, quincunx is at 29 degrees 25. Pallas Athena is at 29 degrees 39, so 14 minutes away from Mars. So it's really a very tight conjunction. And the nodal axis is at 0 degrees 48. So this is a very tight structure. And of course, Sedna just moved into, a couple months ago, into Gemini, and it's at 0 degrees 16. But Sedna has an orbit of almost 12,000 years, 11,400. The last data said, but for quite a while we said 12,500, and so anywhere around 12,000 years. So it's really a long orbit, and it doesn't move really too fast. So we have a tense karmic trapeze. The base is a trine, and it's actually a dissociate trine between Pluto and Sedna. And Pluto-Sedna trine was almost there last year, and I did mention it a couple of times that unfortunately it didn't close because it is 1 minute of an arc before exactness, so it never closed. But it did close this year, and it's one of the main karmic astrological aspects of this year and next year. And this is about transforming whatever is not working in your life and do it in a way that you create something new. That's the trine. And the trine it did occur first in earth signs. It will occur again in earth signs, and then in air signs. And until it is in earth signs, it needs a physical creation. It needs on a very physical basic, on your everyday necessities and physical needs that need to be redone. And then when it moves into air signs, it's going to be an intellectual renovation, so to speak. And I just hope that this whole idiotic, unnatural wokeness and unnatural ideas will be blown away by Pluto, hopefully. If not, we are going to re-experience what we had 250 years ago, which you don't, believe me, you don't want to renew that. Anyhow, so that's the base of this trapeze. And the inside are two quincunxes. Both are energetically tight and also exact, because Sedna is in Gemini, and the south node is in Scorpio, so that's a perfect quincunx. And then the Mars Pallas Athena is still in Leo, and Pluto is already went back into Capricorn. So Leo Capricorn is in quincunx, and Gemini Scorpio is also in a quincunx. That's what quincunxes are really about. That the energies it links are simply not working together. They are so diverse, they are so different that it's almost unable. We are unable to reconcile the two energies. But then you also have a sextile, which is a fixed square energy, because Mars and Pallas Athena are still in Leo, and the south node is still in Scorpio. So Leo Scorpio is a fixed square energy. So here the top of the stage itself is a sextile by number, but a fixed square by energy. And these are the most interesting mechanisms in the karmic astrology, when you have something very tight, but it's not quite working well. And the reason is because the energies are not functioning well. And there's also another thing here, a dissociate engine with the North Node, Pluto, and Mars Pallas Athena, and the two are intertwined into this complex planetary picture. And then the next day, Mars and Pallas Athena are entering Virgo at 0 degrees. Mars is at 0 degrees, 00 on July the 10th at 1340 Budapest, which is 1240 London. And as I said, I haven't created you the London chart because it really isn't so much necessary, but you can, of course, if you want, because the main structure here, this dissociate and anaretic ground cross, which is not really a karmic cage yet, simply because the energies are not well, is going to be in Aries. The fact that in the Budapest chart you have Mercury on the MC and Pluto on the IC is just chance, but the planets are forming the structure anyway. So here you still have the Venus midpoint with Black Moon Lilith and Mars Pallas Athena, and at the same time the Moon, which was the day before also in Leo, sorry, in Aries, is still in Aries and is highlighting Aries, drastically altered outward circumstances, and the midpoint with Chiron and the South Node are still there. And of course, in the Budapest chart, the Moon is on the descendant, so highlighting open enemies and alliances. And here's Regulus. As you can see, Regulus is right on the ecliptic. So actually any planet, especially the Sun, will always be perfectly conjunct and aligned and in parallel with Regulus. And here Mars, if you can take a look, I mean, I tried to highlight it, the circle of Mars has in its belly Regulus. So Mars is following Regulus, so to speak. And Regulus is the alpha star of Leo. The whole constellation Leo is about rulership, reign, sovereignty. And Leo, of course, is the heart of the celestial lion, is the true powerful kings who were given their power by God. You may or not believe by God, but believe me, it's there. He is there. He, she, whatever is there. There is the divine governing force of the world. He just leaves us alone because he couldn't care less how we are chopping each other up. So that's the point. And another thing, if you see Pallas Athena is perpendicular on the ecliptic, and the Mars Pallas Athena conjunction is out of reach in destinations, so in declinations, because the Pallas Athena is closer to the celestial equator. So whenever you see a chart that has a tight conjunction, always check the declinations, because sometimes they are above or below each other, just with this case in this chart. And there's another dissociate structure on the 10th as well. It's pretty much the same, except the fact that Mercury at the moment really moves very fast. It's around 2 degrees per day, which is double its usual travel. So it moved into an opposition with Pluto, and Mercury-Pluto is always about manipulation through communication, let's put it this way. That's what you see everywhere. And there is this dissociate ground cross, because the nodal axis is still at 0 degrees Scorpio and Taurus, and Pluto is already in Capricorn, and Mercury is still in Cancer. By the next day in the evening, it moves into Leo. So then energetically, it will form a true karmic cage with the nodal axis. And then when Pluto goes back in, no, it doesn't go back for months. Actually, when the nodal axis moves into Libra and Aries, that is when Pluto will form a karmic cage. At this moment, it's just an anaretic ground cross, quite tight, but still. And of course, it is dissolved on the one hand by Mars Pallas Athena, and on the other hand by Sedna and Dark Moon. Interestingly enough, Dark Moon also moved up from yesterday into a conjunction. It's an applying conjunction to Sedna. It's still at the very end of Taurus. There is an exact sextile energetically and numerologically as well between Dark Moon Lilith and Mercury. So you can understand consciously Mercury, your acceptance of any curse that occurred to you in life, and then you can dissect it and rearrange it if you want. So that is being dissolved by those celestial objects. So that's it. We do live in interesting times, as in the biggest Chinese curse. And watch out for violence, watch out for fires. Today, I'm recording this on Friday, the 7th, and today we had like 6 or 7 different fires, 3 on the motorway. Of course, it's the weekend. It's going to be very, very hot in Hungary. Everyone is going to Lake Balaton because they want to chill out, which is fine. And of course, there are crazy people out there who think that they own the motorways and they can do whatever they do. Watch out. It's the Mars Pluto aspects are always violence-packed, action-packed as well, but violence-packed. And the quincunx always carries some karmic issues. And the quincunx at the very anaretic positions kind of suggest that there are some unfinished business also involved. Thank you for listening and have a great weekend. Thank you. Bye-bye.